In each verse, the Buddha used the power of skillful means to manifest being born and entering nirvana. So it's talking about the Buddha this lifetime, by birth and then entering parinirvana, and in between, after attaining enlightenment, and how he used the skillful means. And this is well described in this chapter 4 of the Lotus Sutra, and how the Buddha, through his discerning power, be able to impart the teachings through skillful means. He exhibited first becoming a monastic, and then continuing until he reached Buddhahood. And this is, I think, there must be the third day that Master mentioned about becoming a monastic. He demonstrated how to eradicate evil and practice goodness to transform all sentient beings. And this eradication of evil, which remember that if the Buddha Dharma was summarized into 3 teachings. One is stop doing evil, do only good, which is practice goodness, and then purify the mind. And here and through the teachings from the Vaipuya period to the Prajna period about emptiness, through his lifetime of teachings, he completed all and manifested the appearance of birth and death, which is a cycle from the birth and death. And so therefore, and then we ask ourselves, this appearance of birth and death is also to tell us that we ourselves need to understand what is then our purpose of our life. So in Master's explanation, that the Buddha didn't come to the world to transform sentient beings for only one lifetime. But and as Master have explained through the Lotus Sutra, all the past manifestation of the Buddha as a bodhisattva, then and what were the virtues that he was practicing from each of those lifetimes. So it's for lifetime of a lifetime, and that will apply to us as well. That we also in the past has been transcending or transmigrating the 6 realms through innumerable lifetimes in the past. And depending on what we do in this lifetime, we'll be also be taking rebirth in various realms. So in this life, he remained calm and composed as others slandered him. So this is also a teaching for us that in our life in practice, and this is for us, Sister Sui-san mentioned, that we need, how do we then practice equanimity? But if nobody slander us, then how can we be practicing equanimity? Obviously, we have to be tested. We have to go through these conditions for us to realize equanimity. The things that happen to us, the condition that threaten us, are not necessarily it's not necessarily bad, because if you want to become a runner, you've got to run fast, and you got to be trained. So you got to put into conditions that for us to run fast. So that's the way things work. And even then, he had to face a condition that threatens and destroys the Sangha, but he still led his disciples with an open and spacious mind of a spiritual practitioner. So in our life in practice, we'll be facing all this. Sometimes we may even be facing challenges amongst our fellow practitioners, but that's the way it is. So he provided guidance to his disciples by setting an example. And that's important. And for us, what do you mean by setting an example? And in the same way, for us want to be then prepared for being in practice, we have to live what you call an exemplary life. So he demonstrated how to eradicate evil and practice goodness, as stated in initial words, using all kinds of methods. So as we go through this life of practice, we have to go through various conditions and becomings, and arising from why? arising from all our past doings, so our past causes. So when human beings experience suffering, we share with everyone what happened to him in his past life. So when entering the Buddha teachings, everybody slowly understand the truth. The world, truth that the world is that everything are ultimately empty. And this about emptiness in the world. But then then later on, during the BrotheChin period, the Buddha thought that everything was empty in nature, but nothing, how nothing existed. So realizing the emptiness of phenomena is one thing, but then the question is how do we can get into practice that everything is really is as nothingness, nothing exists, and this is how one reached the state of non-self, as Brother Alex explained so clearly. So for us, the existence of the self is, what is then the self? The self is our mind. So, but the problem is that I think most people will think that the mind is part of the self, which is true, part of the self. But then how do you even get out to the state of self? I mean, we can't have no mind. Then the issue is how you then distinguish the mind with the realization of emptiness. And that's what the essence of the teaching is. So that one day can practice with selflessness. So the lessons learned. The greatest liability in this world that creates the most trouble is human beings. And I love descendants, because if you look back and look at what's happening to the world today, and the environmental disasters, the wars, the famine, and everything else, all created by human beings. So that's the karmic retribution that we're facing today. So that the Buddha is not present, the space and time we exist in the present era, the space and time and space to exist in present era. I was cutting and paste, and there's a repetition here. So this time and space that we are between, that we are in existence now and during the Buddha's era, the master was trying to explain is that really is one and the same. And so in terms of the time, I'll come to later. So in the space is under the same heaven and on top of the same earth. And then in terms of the master mentioned in terms of the space, it was one a bit farther from us. So we are basically in this period where this Sakyamuni Buddha exists. But in this particular kalpa that we are in, Sakyamuni is the fourth Buddha, and this kalpa that we are in, actually the 5 Buddhas. Okay, the 5th being Maitreya, which will be coming in 5.6 billion years, as Master mentioned. So we are in the same planet, same sky. So we are masters therefore say that we are in the same space. Although it was born in the kingdom of Kapilavastu, which is presently in Nepal. If I remember, I visited in the pilgrimage trip Kapilavastu. It's just at the southern tip, just when you cross the border in Nepal down south and cross over the northern part of India, that's where Kapilavastu is. So the time we live is far removed from its time, more than 2,000 years in our world. But in Travatimsa heaven, it's only 20 days. But you go to a higher level of heaven, above Travatimsa heaven, it's actually less than 20 days. So therefore, that time, the space of that time, or the time space, is actually not very long ago. So in contemplation, every human being suffers through birth, aging, sickness, and death, and that would have shown us. And he also went through. But the thing is, as I mentioned, and Master's initial was a lot of alluding to us, is what are we going to do with this life? Some are just passing from birth to death, and this become a passerby, not knowing where they're going. And that's just the way they are. They're born and they die. Some are followers of life. Some are followers of death. And many of us, they are followers of death. There's some are followers of that as followers of life, and that's quite ordinarily that most people would do. And they thinking that there is only life that I have, and this life will live forever. But some are followers of death, and these could be people who are sick of living and look forward to death in this life. Some accept there's life and death. So the question is, what happened in between then? So they clutch to life and cling on to the passing world. Be the one who is very sure of life, knowing the purpose and its meaning. And that's the real essence of what the teaching is today. To the enlightened one, even tigers and wild bulls keep clear. And we have heard so many stories about this, that even during the time of the Buddha, when there was a dispute amongst the Sangha members, he went down to the forest. Even the elephant and the monkey went to serve the Buddha. And you may also hear that even the yogis who have practiced, very well practiced, and go out to the jungle, they are attracted by the calm vibration of the yogis, and the cobras will go near them without harming the yogis. And so this, even wild animals will send the calmness of the enlightened ones. The enlightened one dwells in a place that death cannot enter, because there's no life, there's no death, and it's all one continuum. So realize the truth in the essence of the teachings, and you will witness the end without ending. So in relationship, and trying to have this contemplation to relate to today's teaching and the father and the son, but I refer that to the mother relationship. Your progress in life as a spiritual practitioner actually has been guided by 4 mothers. And that's, for me, my realization. So be respectful and grateful to the 4 mothers. One is your birth mother that nurtures you. She gave life to you, which gave birth to you. Number 2 is the mother teacher, is the one who explains the spiritual teachings, okay, which is your master. Then you got the mother nature who provides for you. And this includes all the mother sentient beings that you face in life. And to me, then the last mother is the divine mother who blesses you with her guidance. And to me, the divine mother here is Guan Yin Bo-san. So I used to, when I was working, I used to tell my colleagues that, you know what, I say in my life, there are 3 women in my life. That is the physical women. And so people were very surprised. They say, what sort of transgression that I've been getting involved with? So one is my mother, then my wife, and the third one is my secretary. Okay, Kanan, brothers and sisters, thank you so much.
And Brother Chin for giving us a wonderful summary this morning. Brothers and sisters,